So, guys, this is a PowerPoint, so you're not going to see the shells. Just try to stay with me, okay? So, the first slide is just an example of different forms of solid waste or even waste in general. But when you look at this definition, it's simple. Anytime you discard something solid, it's considered solid waste. So, we're going to focus on this unit on solid and hazardous waste, okay? The two groups. So here's an example of solid waste in your home. This is a picture of, let's say I bought all those groceries and there's all the waste, which is, or this is food. All the waste is in the middle. That's all your garbage from that buy. And then that's what you actually eat or consume, and from there is going to be waste too, like leftovers and stuff like that. So it's just an interesting diagram of how much garbage is in a little bit of purchase because of packaging. So what does the word municipal mean? City or home. Even McCarthy is municipal waste. Any waste other than the industry, we go back to this word, and when you hear the word industry, you think of what?
Factories.
Factories or?
Plants.
Because a factory could be a plant, which is, you know, an energy producing plant. Manufacturing of goods. When you see that word, a lot of you missed that on this test. What was the difference between fuel and non-fuel? And non-fuel is basically the making of goods. That's what it was about. So municipal waste, and I'm going to give you a kind of an overview of the most discarded waste in your home. And the first one is paper. And what is that? Brush or grass clippings or your, you know, whatever comes from your lawn. Plastic. Food. So those are the most discarded waste in your home. Paper, grass clipping, plastic, and food. So we have to ask ourselves, where does this waste go? How many of you know? To the garbage dumps. What does that mean?
It's not being.
It is now, we know, because Cody went there. Where does your garbage go? Landfills. Good. What else? Biomass, which is awesome. And what else? One more. What? No. It used to. Correct. What? So we got landfills. We got biomass plants or plants that are, you know, using waste to produce energy, and one more. No? Oh yeah, recycling. Good. What else? So there's one more. Composting, which involves
your leftover food or grass clippings you can use it to make.
Good. And one more. If we don't bury it, we generally what? Burn it. Okay. All right. So 55% of your garbage actually goes to a landfill. Yeah. I wonder if this quote might have changed because there's a lot more efforts in biomass and recycling. But possibly the number sticks the same because the landfill is in business with the power plant. So it's still going to the landfill or just redirecting what they're doing with the garbage. So there's what our old landfills used to look like. They were called open dumps and they still exist, but there's serious regulations. Like you still have a place you could go to and drop off a big refrigerator, but there's a guy there. It's not you just don't dump. But garbage used to be like that. You just used to dump. Now we have what's called cemetery landfills. So then you've got 33% is going to be, whoops, recycled. That was where it was. Recycled. So we've got how much percent landfill? no, 55. 33% recycled or used to make compost, which is kind of recycling in a sense, yes. And then you've got the other percent, which is going to be burned. So how much percent is left? 22% burned. All right, so what is my sanitary landfill like? You have to know this full process, including each part of the landfill. And I think I have another diagram, which is better. But honestly, when you pass by a landfill, you're not going to see so much smell or you're not going to see a lot of decomposition because it's immediately what? buried, and then what? Layered. Good. So they're trying to avoid leaking at all possible costs. They're trying to avoid air pollution, runoff, land pollution, water pollution. Oh, and I think I have a clear picture. So here's the order. So it's dumping day. They're going to come and they're going to dump the garbage. And then they're going to layer it with sandy silt. And when I say you have to know each part of this, you have to know each part of this. On top of the silt is clay. On top of the clay is a liner. What's the liner made out of? Plastic. So right there, you got to start thinking. We're going to have to come up with a solution to that. Then gravel and sand. So what are they doing? They're kind of what? They're making land, correct? They're building foundation. They add topsoil and they add vegetation.
Wait, please.
Besides those layers, what do you see in this diagram that they have? I'm going to post these notes, by the way. Pipes, what are the pipes called? Good, leachate collectors. And I think my next slide describes what that is. Anybody know what leaching is? The seeping of the waste through what? Through the water, okay? Through runoff or infiltration and percolation. Oh, here's another diagram for you. You've got clay, plastic liner, and there it tells you the plastic liner. You've got the leachate collectors and what they call refuse. So it's like soil and your daily cover, whatever. And this goes on until it gets to a certain height. That's why they call it Mount Trashmore. And then they close the landfill and they turn it into what? A park, which didn't exist before. Okay. I do have a slide that describes leaching, so let me go straight there and then we'll go back. So leaching, water being contaminated when garbage seeps through the soil, and you know water is the universal solvent, so it kind of takes everything with it, and it'll end up where? In our water, okay? In our aquifers, in our lakes, in our rivers, wherever. So these collectors, they collect, do you know what the leachate collectors collect? Methane. So they're going to collect methane. What can they do with the methane? Burn it.
Well, that's why when you come to landfill, you see,
But think of a positive thing they could do with the methane. What's methane? Collection can be used to produce electricity. All right, so advantages to landfill. And I don't understand some of my pictures, so we'll just ignore some of them. But this whole, there's no smell, that's realistically true. Now, on dumping day, there's going to be some odor, but generally, a landfill, what used to be considered really, really smelly, you could drive by and not really get the effect. It's pretty cheap, and you can use the land for multiple things, like parks or recreation, once the landfill is complete. So those are advantages to landfill. I have no idea. I think what the middle picture is that we're avoiding burning. Maybe that's what I was thinking that day. Does that look right? Don't burn things? Yeah, maybe someday I'll figure it out. All right, problems. As I said, leaching. Also, location. Not in my backyard. I promise you that if you are an investor in the future and you buy property near a landfill, just let it sit there. Eventually, you're going to have property near a park, right? But during the time of the landfill, your property value is very low because nobody wants to live near a landfill. I mean, I've seen buildings built and they look like abandoned sites because nobody buys into them because they're right next to the landfill. And because people fear the smell. Methane is definitely a disadvantage, but what's the solution? Collect it and use it for electricity production. So, and there's also carbon dioxide emissions or any kind of organic decomposition emissions in the meantime before they line and compact. All right, so here is a landfill. This is what Cody visited, gas processing and treatment plant. So they're going to use biomass, guys. fuel, and they're gonna generate their own power. So they're gonna burn it, they're gonna add water, produce steam, same function. Did you get to see all that or no? So this is just a diagram of taking your wasted food and putting it straight into good use, which is for electricity production or fertilizers. So it would be composting. Right, there's another diagram, waste to energy, and it's the same process. So you see, and there's another diagram of the same thing. Looks the same as what? Coal. It looks the same as coal. All right, so burning. Did I even talk about burning? Incineration. I'm gonna talk about it while I have this slide up. It's basically taking garbage and burning it, not for the production of electricity. It's to get rid of waste. Okay, you have to deal with waste, and it has advantages because it reduces the need for a landfill, which requires land. It reduces volume of trash. And why do you think low water pollution is one of them?
Nothing leaks.
Good, because you're not worried about leaching or runoff of contaminants in a landfill. Also, you know, you could read over these. And disadvantages, as always, it's always expensive to build, but there's going to be emissions. So that's another disadvantage is when you burn, you're going to produce CO2, which is a greenhouse gas. And a lot of them are old and poorly managed. That's a big factor because that's not the business to be in now. The business is to burn it and produce electricity. So the shift in management or future investors is huge. There's a picture of a landfill turned into a park. I think it might even be visible.
Yeah, visible.
All right, so recycling. Believe it or not, there's two types of recycling. Let's see if I put the words, you might be able to figure it out. There's primary closed and secondary closed loops. So yes, that is correct. Primary, you're recycling an aluminum can into an aluminum can. Secondary, you're gonna take aluminum from a roof, let's say, and turn it into aluminum can. So you're using material that was once used for one function and making another, which is very common. All types of recycling have definitely come a long way. Advantages. You know, the one thing that I could tell you would probably be the answer on the test to disadvantage to recycling is always it's expensive. Doing the right thing usually costs more money. So
True.
cost is always a disadvantage with recycling. I mean, I remember going to buy recycling paper years ago when it first started, and you had to pay $3 extra for a pack of paper. And in your mind you thought, why would I do that? I mean, I want to do right by the environment. Now, it's all recyclable paper. So you don't even have to worry about that. The paper you buy, it's either going to be 100% recyclable or 50-50. Look at the back. File folders, all of these things. So you're going to reduce pollution for sure. Shh. Even though plants of recycling will have some pollution, in the end, landfills and burning is going to have more. Save energy, because you need energy to make goods, so if you're recycling them. And reduce emissions that are produced from burning and leaking. And look at the disadvantage. Reduces profit for landfills. And I find this interesting because I was saying this to Cody. If the landfill is in business with FPL, honestly, they're double dipping. And there should be a kickback because they're taking our garbage and they're using it to produce electricity. That's recycling our stuff. But, huh? I hope so. All right, composting. And this is a critical sentence here in the bottom that's not coming up, so I'm going to push down the screen. Anybody know what it says? One of you is going to have to refresh your memory on what the sustainable principles are. I think that's Unit 1. But recycling nutrients is one of them. So composting is recycling of nutrients because you're taking organic matter and putting it back into the cycle because you're putting it in the land to act as fertilizers so plants can use and start the food chain again. So, done. And tomorrow will be that.